All right, now that we have established our calibrated pycnometer weight, we need to bring our sample into a saturated surface dry condition. Now, I want to expand upon that just a little bit. Since we are testing coarse aggregate for concrete, that sample needs to soak for at least 15 hours to allow absorption of all the water it can hold. If we were testing concrete sand and your sample was damp when you got it, that sample is considered to be already saturated. So we don't have to soak concrete sand unless it is dry. Again, that's considered sample preparation. The test procedure, once the sample is in a saturated surface dry condition, is exactly the same for coarse aggregate or fine aggregate for concrete. So again, I've got a sample soaking in the pan. I'm using a 1 quart jar. So this sample weighs a little over 1,100 grams. Again, per the IM 307, it tells us to achieve that, to get that sample from our field sample that we're testing. It's soaked, so I'm just dumping the water out. It's not critical if I happen to lose a rock at this stage of the game. We haven't weighed anything other than to make sure we had enough. With coarse aggregate, it tells us we can now do a preliminary drying in a towel. With fine aggregate, don't use the towel. You will not like it. So again, simply dry it, maybe pick up the towel, roll the sample around. Again, this is just to get rid of the excess moisture on the coarse aggregate. Once we're satisfied with that, it is not in a saturated surface dry condition yet. So we're going to transfer that material into either a clean flat countertop or a flat pan and allow it to come to a visibly saturated surface dry condition. This is the subjective part of this test, whether it's sand or coarse aggregate, is visually determining when it is in a saturated surface dry condition. If we process it before it becomes saturated surface dry, we can get an erroneous end result specific gravity. If we wait too long until it becomes absorptive again, we will get an erroneous specific gravity result. Try it out. I'm not going to, but you can use a fan to help air dry it. It's not allowed to be put on the stove, either sand or rock. It needs to dry uniformly, keeping it mixed up. One of the things I like to do with coarse aggregate is to transfer, because the bottom of this pan is wet, so I'm fighting that moisture and I don't want to be. So I transfer it, turn it around, and just visibly watch. One of the things I watch for, besides just looking at the rock and feeling the rock, is any water streaks. When that all dissipates, then we're ready to weigh up our sample in our jar and determine our saturated surface dry specific gravity, mold specific gravity.